Hey guys, how's it going? So, this will be a fun video. What is enlightenment like? See, the problem with that question, which is a common one asked of someone like me or many teachers, is as the seeker, you probably don't have the um, experience to even understand the answer. It's kind of like if you had no eyes and you asked me to explain what blue looks like. You'd be like, uh, you'd have no context. And so, like, to answer a question like what is enlightenment or what is awakening like or is much the same way. There's no context. And so generally it's in my hands or a teacher's hands to then point you so you can get your first person subjective, so to say, experience of something to then, oh, that's what you're talking about, or that's close to what you're talking about. And there are pointers and metaphors that are all great, some greater than others. Perhaps it's in relation to the person asking, their life experiences, but like the dream metaphor is a good one. It's like it's like waking up from a dream, and I never had much appreciation for that answer until recently, when I could start to see how when you start to see thought and things and emotion and senses as very dreamlike, and you know they're dreamlike, and you also know what a dream feels like. Like most of you, when you have a dream or you daydream and you snap out of it, there's a quality. There's like a I'm back in reality and I was daydreaming. So awakening or enlightenment or letting go of the I or a belief is much like the dream metaphor or the dreamlike experience. Now, what's being pointed towards in enlightenment and awakening isn't actually a dream, but the waking up from the dream is very much like waking up from a dream. So you can kind of relate to that. But the actual what is there or understood as a description or how it's like, there's a wide range of what it's like, but unless you have any kind of context to even relate to that realm, again, it's almost impossible to give a satisfactory answer. Now, if you had like a psychedelic experience or a drug-like experience, and you really felt like you went to another realm and things were radically different, well, that's a good place to draw from and to make a meta, to relate from, to like extrapolate something similar, because awakening is very similar to almost like a psychedelic, like boom, and you don't feel like yourself fundamentally. Reality isn't fundamentally what it was before you did the drug. But things with psychedelics often is once the drug wears off, reality, whatever that was or is, comes back, and it's believed to be that fundamentally. So I guess you could say almost like awakening would be to realize that the dream that you woke up into is actually real, and the coming back down to the reality that was supposedly real before actually isn't quite that stable. Isn't actually what it seemed to be. Um, and including in that is like this the sense that you're actually on stable ground. Like I imagine most of you think you're on a chair or standing on a floor that's actually still. I mean, very rudimentary poor man science would tell you that that's actually not true from an objective point of view. Like, there is no actual stable floor that's in any one stable position. It's, at its root, empty space fundamentally, with particles and energies that, from that point of view, create stability. I mean, that's the scientific kind of like explanation. Has some value to relate, but even from that point of view, it's like the experience that you would call, oh, this is real, doesn't actually line up with solid or here. Like, where, what is a here? Usually, in order for something to be here, there would need to be stableness, right? Like, there'd have to be 2 points. How do I say this? If everything's in motion, which science basically says it is, I mean, the Earth is rotating and spinning. The Earth that we think is rotating and spinning is actually empty space with energies and protons and photons and all these other subparticles that we've divided things down into. But none of it's actually ever still. The walls, the floor, the body that you say you are isn't actually still, isn't in actually one particular place at any particular moment. Yet we call it, oh, I'm here and the wall's there, and it seems like it's very fixed, very stable, very like, oh yeah, here is here. But that's in relation to like what seems to be stable around you, which actually isn't real according to science. And I guess you could say almost, if you have an awakening experience, you could actually see it fundamentally from the position of experience too. You could say almost the experience could match science. Because right now, your experience is not matching science. There isn't a stable here. There's nothing that's stable. There's no points that are actually stable. They appear as an experientially stable, and we can kind of like experientially feel and measure, and it seems to be stable, but none of the things that we're measuring are actually stable, fixed in a place. I already forgot why I went down the rabbit hole. Oh, we're talking about experience, awakening, enlightenment, relating to things through experience that you can relate to. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, to answer the question, what was enlightenment like? Is again hard. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to add into this is like, so in this experience you're having, there's probably a sense of you in it. Some people's sense of you is, oh, my body is me. And other people might be like, oh no, I can see my body, but I'm not the body. But there's probably still a sense of you seeing your body. And that sense of you probably has its own storyline, whether it's a storyline of coming from a father and mother, or a storyline coming from an earth, which came from a big bang, or coming from a nothingness. It's still that sense of self usually has a story attached to it, which is not a bad thing. It's part of this grand adventure, this mystery. But yeah, to give you maybe an answer at this point, or closer to it, I guess you could say like enlightenment is waking up to what is. what is I guess you could say a singularity with no outsides and no insides. That is experiencing. And it's bigger than probably, it's probably a smaller word than actually I could point to. But imagine that you're watching a movie or a play, and the theme of the play is like drama and adventure, excitement, despair, thrill, horror, and it's quite entertaining. It's quite something. Like from the audience, ooh, bravo, bravo, shock, ooh, enjoyment, horror, bewilderment, amazement. And so you could say awakening is much of the time or much like that. But you see that it's generally like when there's like a fixed notion of identity in the play, like you being involved in it, those things of horror and struggle and despair are generally not quite as seen from a larger point of view of like, oh, this is a grand play. Woo! Bravo! That's amazing. It's generally taken very personally and threateningly and frustratedly, and that's okay. That's part of the thing too. The first person part of it. Because you could also say awakening is realizing there's not a negative event taking place, a bad event. Kind of like at your core, there's a fundamental notion of like being the audience enjoying the play. Bravo, bravo, appreciation, love, fascination, bewilderment, mystery, wow. Bravo. And there's some bad days too. But it's a little different, I think, than the general way of being, taking things very personally when they're not going your way, or feeling like you're the center of the whole play. Which, funny enough, in some ways, fundamentally is true, but never mind. I want to keep this video somewhat under 15 minutes. And maybe that's for another day. So I hope you got a fun, decent answer. Maybe it opened up something, because that's really what I think is most important, and that I think you're probably looking for is to not hear some fanciful words or explanation that mentally is kind of gotten, but you actually like you're exposed to, you find yourself in a newness, something that you didn't know was possible or there, or because that may have an effect on the psyche to such a degree that, or what feels like you, that you are humbled, or without thinking about it, your idea of what's possible opens up, or you realize that, I thought I knew reality or the boundaries of experience or what was possible. But I don't. And so innately, there's an openness. There's a yearning or an automatic curiosity that kind of draws you forward or into reality in such a way that you're not so closed or like, I got all this, I know this, I know how reality is, you're wrong, I'm right. Hopefully that you'll go through that. It may always happen to some degree, however small it may fade into obscurity or unnoticeability, but you guess you could say this work may have a lightening effect on the personality structure. But I guess the point I was making, yeah, we've gone beyond 15 minutes, I guess, was I think I lost it. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah, I hope this was enlightening. All right, take care, guys. Bye.